I still remember the first time I met Rachel like it was yesterday. Oil on my hands, sweat on my neck, standing under a busted hood in the middle of July heat in San Antonio. She walked into the shop asking about a noise in her Honda, and I swear, time slowed down for a second. She wasn't dramatic or fake sweet like some people. She was quick, sharp, funny. The kind of girl who didn't care about grease under your nails as long as you got the job done right. My name's Alex. I'm 34 now, but I met Rachel when we were both 28. I was already 5 years into my job at Harris Auto, and she was just starting out as a freelance graphic designer, still taking gigs on Craigslist and building her portfolio from scratch. We clicked fast, like dangerously fast. Within 6 months, we were splitting rent on a 2-bedroom apartment near downtown, tagging along on each other's errands, making late-night frozen pizza feel like a date night. The chemistry was strong. Physical, emotional, all of it. We made each other laugh even when we were dead tired from work. A year later, we got married in a courthouse with my brother and her cousin standing behind us. No big wedding, no drama, just a couple of rings, a cheap lunch afterward, and a promise that we'd build something better together. First, things were solid. Rachel worked from home, so I'd come back after a long day, and she'd already have dinner going, or we'd grab tacos and pass out watching crime shows. We didn't have a ton of money, but we were a team. We both talked about buying a house in a couple of years, maybe having kids once we had more saved up. We even had a whiteboard in the kitchen with goals written in dry erase. Save $15,000, pay off her car, no kids till 2026. Stupid little stuff like that. But at the time, it made sense. Felt like we were moving forward. Quick note: before listening, share which city or country you're watching from. And for the first year or two, I thought we were the lucky ones. We didn't fight much. We talked things through. We had each other's backs. I thought that kind of bond was rare. Looking back, I wonder if I missed the signs early on. If maybe I believed in us too much. Or maybe I just wasn't ready to admit something was off. The first real cracks didn't show until after our 3rd anniversary, and when they did, they started small, almost invisible. That night, I came home late, expecting to eat with her. Instead, she was already done, sitting on the couch with her plate on the coffee table and her eyes glued to her phone. She barely looked up. Just said, "Hey," without even pausing whatever she was scrolling through. I stood there for a second, keys still in my hand, waiting for her to say something else. Nothing. "You already ate?" I asked, walking over to the kitchen. "Yeah, I was hungry," she mumbled. "Didn't know when you'd be home." I looked at the clock. It wasn't even 7. That was normal for me, but I let it go. I grabbed a plate, heated up the leftover chicken, and sat next to her on the couch. She didn't move her eyes from the screen. That started becoming the routine. Dinner for 2 turned into 2 people eating in the same room, barely talking. I'd ask how her day was, and she'd give me one-word answers while still holding her phone like it was glued to her hand. I told myself it was just work stress. She had picked up more freelance gigs, and I figured she was probably juggling too much. It made sense, sort of, but it didn't stop there. Mornings used to be quick and playful. We'd joke around while getting ready, pass each other in the hallway half-dressed, trade sarcastic jabs. Now, she was always 10 steps ahead of me, earbuds in, walking around the apartment like I was background noise. One night, I walked into the bedroom and caught her smiling down at her phone. It wasn't a regular smile. It was the kind of grin you give someone who just made you feel special, like they knew you better than anyone else. When she saw me, her face dropped. She hit the lock button like it was instinct, then forced a weird laugh and set it down on the nightstand. "Who was that?" I asked casually, trying not to sound like I cared too much. "Just a friend from one of the design forums," she said, stretching out the word, friend, a little too much. I didn't push it. I didn't want to be that guy, the paranoid husband. But from that night on, something sat heavy in my gut. There was this space growing between us. Not physical, not loud. Just this slow, silent gap that kept getting wider. Like I could reach out and touch her, but emotionally, she wasn't there. We'd still sleep in the same bed. We still did all the regular couple stuff. Grocery shopping, laundry, paying bills. But none of it felt like us anymore. It was like going through motions with a roommate who barely remembered you existed. One Saturday morning, I made pancakes. Her favorite. I even put chocolate chips in them like I used to. She sat across from me, barely touched them, phone in one hand, fork in the other. "Rachel," I said finally, "can you put the phone down for 5 minutes?" She looked up, annoyed. "I'm just checking messages." "Yeah, but you're always checking messages." That earned me a full eye roll. "I'm allowed to be on my phone, Alex. It's not a crime." I stared at her for a second. "I know that. I miss how we used to talk. I miss you." She didn't answer. She took another bite like I hadn't said anything at all. And that was worse than yelling. Worse than a fight. I started to wonder if I was making something out of nothing. If I was just tired, or bored, or losing my mind. But deep down, I knew something had shifted. Something was off. And no matter how hard I tried to ignore it, I could feel it every time she smiled at that screen like it mattered more than I did. That night, after the pancake silence, I waited for the right moment. She was curled up on the couch, no TV on, just scrolling like usual, her legs tucked under a blanket she didn't offer to share. The air in the room felt heavy, like we both knew something was coming. I sat down next to her, close but not touching. "Can we talk for a sec?" She didn't look up. "About what?" "Just us," I said. "Can you put the phone down for a minute?" She sighed loud, tossed it face down on the cushion, and crossed her arms. "Okay, I'm listening." I wasn't trying to fight. I just wanted her to see me again. "I don't know what's going on lately, but I feel like you're somewhere else. Like, even when we're together, you're not here." She blinked slow, face tight. "Is this about the phone again?" "It's not just the phone, Rachel. It's how you've been acting. You're distant. You barely talk to me anymore. We don't laugh, we don't hang out. Hell, we barely eat at the same time." She rolled her eyes. "So now I'm not allowed to be tired or busy?" "I didn't say that," I said, trying to stay calm. "I know you've got work and a lot going on. I get it. But this isn't just stress. This feels different. It feels like I'm living with someone who doesn't even want to be around me." She leaned forward, elbows on her knees. "Are you seriously sitting here accusing me of something just because I use my phone a lot?" I shook my head. "I'm not accusing you. I'm telling you how I feel. I feel alone, Rachel. And I'm trying to understand why." She stood up fast, grabbed her phone. "You know what this sounds like? You're trying to control me. Like I need permission to use my own damn phone in my own house. That's not what I'm doing." "Yes, it is," she snapped. "You're turning this into some weird control thing. Like I need to check in with you every time I text someone." I sat there, stunned. "Where is this coming from?" She paced a little, then stopped and stared at me. "You're acting like I'm cheating or something. Is that it? You think I'm cheating?" I didn't even know how to answer that. "I never said that." "But you think it." I stood up too. "I think something's wrong, and I'm trying to talk to you about it like an adult. That's what I'm doing. If this was flipped, if I started ignoring you and hiding my phone, you'd ask questions too." She didn't respond, just stood there, jaw tight, breathing hard. I waited for her to say something. Anything. An apology, an explanation. A simple "I hear you." But all I got was silence. She walked past me and into the bedroom, slamming the door behind her. I stood there in the living room for a minute, heart pounding, not sure what just happened. I wasn't angry. I was just confused, hurt. I didn't come at her with blame. I came in soft, honest. And still, she flipped it on me like I was the problem. Part of me wanted to go after her, press the issue. But the other part was just done. I turned off the living room light and sat back down on the couch. TV remote in hand, but I didn't turn it on. I stared at the blank screen, wondering how a 5-minute talk turned into a war. I sat there on the couch for maybe an hour, lights off, just listening. I could hear her moving around in the bedroom, closet door creaking, dresser drawer sliding shut. No crying, no yelling, just cold, controlled movement. The next morning, it was like the fight never happened. She walked out of the room dressed for a client meeting, hair straightened, iced coffee in hand, phone already in her grip. She didn't say good morning, just grabbed her bag and said, "Don't forget trash day," as she walked out. From that point on, I started watching closer. I wasn't proud of it, but I couldn't help it. Every time her phone buzzed, I looked up. Every time she smiled down at it and then locked the screen the second she noticed me watching, my gut twisted. She'd sit on the far end of the couch now, legs crossed, phone tilted away from me like she was shielding it from sunlight. Her laughter didn't sound the same. It was softer, quieter, like she didn't want me hearing it at all. One night, she got a message while we were brushing our teeth. I watched her read it in the mirror's reflection. Her eyes lit up. She smiled, then quickly wiped it off her face like someone had flipped a switch. She backed out of the bathroom and shut the door. It hit me in waves. Suspicion, anger, denial. Over and over. I didn't want to be that guy. Snooping around, checking up on my wife like some insecure idiot. But she wasn't giving me anything to hold on to anymore. I stopped asking questions. That only made her more defensive. I just paid attention. I noticed she started taking her phone with her even to the shower. She used to leave it charging in the bedroom. Now it was always in her hand or within arm's reach. I even tested it one time. She left it on the couch when she went to get a drink, and I leaned over like I was just grabbing the remote. Her head snapped back into the room so fast I thought she'd fall. "What are you doing?" she asked, voice sharp. "Just changing the channel." I held up the remote, kept my tone flat. She walked over, grabbed her phone, and didn't say another word. That night I couldn't sleep. I laid there next to her, listening to the faint tapping of her texting under the covers. Screen dimmed all the way down, fingers moving fast. And that's when I knew. This wasn't just work or stress or needing space. This was something else. Something personal. I didn't go looking right away. I gave it a couple more days, hoping, honestly hoping, I was wrong. Maybe it was a friend. Maybe it was harmless. But the way she protected that phone like it held national secrets, the way her whole vibe shifted whenever she looked at it, no, it wasn't harmless. One afternoon, I came home early from the shop. She was in the shower, phone left on the bathroom counter. Unlocked. I hesitated. For maybe 2 seconds. Then I picked it up. I went straight to the messages. Her most recent convo was with a contact saved as Evan. I didn't know an Evan. I scrolled. "If I didn't have to go home to him, I'd stay on this chat with you all night. You seriously make my days better. I wish we met before all this." My heart didn't race. It just dropped. It was like I'd known the answer all along and still hoped I was wrong. The way she spoke to this guy, it wasn't just friendly. It was intimate, familiar, safe. All the things she used to give me. She talked about her marriage stress, how I didn't understand her, how she wished she could breathe without being judged. And then a photo. Nothing graphic, just her in a sweater, sitting at her desk, smiling. But it was a different smile. One I hadn't seen in months. I took a screenshot and emailed it to myself. I wasn't ready to confront her yet. I needed time to figure out what the hell I was going to say, how I'd even start that conversation without burning everything down. I put the phone back exactly where I found it. She walked out 10 minutes later, towel in her hair, humming, like nothing was wrong. She hummed as she dried her hair, walking right past me without noticing a thing. I just sat there on the edge of the bed, phone back on the counter where it had been, pretending to scroll through mine. My stomach felt like it was full of cement. Over the next couple of days, I couldn't stop thinking about what I'd seen. Those messages replayed in my head like some broken loop. Every laugh she gave to her phone felt like another knife. Every soft smile she hid when she thought I wasn't watching. It wasn't for me anymore. I told myself I needed proof. Not just one thread. Something she couldn't twist or spin into a misunderstanding. That chance came 3 nights later. She was in the living room, laptop open, working on a design project. The glow from the screen washed across her face, and her phone sat next to her coffee mug, unlocked. She was in the zone, sketching something with her stylus. My heart pounded, but my mind was steady. I walked to the kitchen, acting casual, grabbed a glass of water, and drifted behind her like I was checking on dinner. She didn't look up. The phone buzzed once, Evan. I took my shot. I picked it up and stepped into the hallway like I was answering a call of my own. I opened the chat. More of the same. Flirty comments, emotional confessions. I had a dream about you last night. Don't tell me. I'll blush. You already are. I can feel it. It was like reading a script from a relationship that wasn't mine anymore. I scrolled back weeks, months. She'd been talking to him since before our last anniversary. The messages got deeper, about her loneliness, how I was emotionally unavailable. Then came another name, Tom. I hesitated but opened it. Same tone, same energy. Jokes, compliments, inside references I didn't recognize. You're the only person who really gets me. If I could trade places with you for a day, I'd never go back. I felt my jaw tighten. My hand shook a little as I started taking screenshots. One by one. Tap, swipe, tap, swipe. My thumb moved fast. My pulse louder than the sound of her stylus tapping in the other room. I backed out, hit her email icon, and sent the screenshots to myself. Clean subject line, no text. Then deleted the sent mail and cleared recent contacts. My hands were steady again, like I'd done this 100 times. When I slipped the phone back next to her mug, she didn't notice a thing. She was still deep in her design, humming softly. I stood there watching her for a second, and all I could think was how normal she looked. Calm, innocent, like she hadn't just set fire to everything we'd built. Want me to make you tea? I asked. My voice sounded almost normal. She smiled without looking up. Sure, that'd be nice. I filled the kettle, staring out the kitchen window, steam fogging up the glass. My chest felt hollow. I wasn't angry, not yet. Just empty, like all the air had been sucked out of the room. When the tea was done, I brought it over and set it beside her. She said thanks, eyes never leaving the screen. I sat down on the opposite couch, my own phone in hand, pretending to scroll through emails. The ones I just sent sat in my inbox, evidence waiting in plain sight. It hit me how calm she was, how comfortable, like she truly believed I'd never find out. And maybe that was the worst part. Not just the betrayal, but the ease of it. The confidence, the trust she put in my blindness. I watched her work until she finally shut her laptop and stretched. I'm gonna turn in, she said. You staying up? Yeah, I said quietly. Just for a bit. She smiled, kissed me on the cheek. Light, meaningless, and went to bed. I didn't follow her. I sat there for hours, phone in my lap, staring at those screenshots until the lines blurred. Every word was a lie I hadn't caught soon enough. I barely slept that night. I just sat there, phone in my hand, reading the screenshots over and over until the sun started creeping through the blinds. By morning, I knew I couldn't keep it in anymore. She came into the kitchen half awake, hair messy, wearing one of my shirts. She poured herself coffee and leaned on the counter like nothing in the world was wrong. I watched her for a second, then said, "We need to talk." She froze for half a second, then tried to play it cool. About what? Your phone. That got her attention. She straightened, eyes narrowing. What about it? I took a slow breath. I saw the messages, Rachel, with Evan and Tom. Her face went pale for a split second, then tightened. You went through my phone? I did. Her eyes flared. Unbelievable. You invaded my privacy? Are you serious right now? I'm serious about you having emotional affairs with 2 different men while married to me. She slammed the coffee mug down so hard some spilled over. Don't call them affairs. Jesus, Alex, you're acting crazy. They're friends. Friends don't talk about wishing they'd met before your marriage. I shot back. Friends don't text each other every night about how their spouses don't understand them. You're twisting everything. Her voice rose, sharp and defensive. Those conversations weren't about cheating. They were about venting. You know how much pressure I've been under. I needed someone to talk to. Someone who isn't your husband. I said, got it. She crossed her arms, glaring at me like I was the one who'd done something wrong. I can't believe you went behind my back like that. You completely violated my trust. Your trust. I laughed once, dry and bitter. You've been sneaking around behind my back for months, and I broke your trust? You had no right to read my private messages. And you had no right to treat our marriage like a side project. I said, do you hear yourself right now? You're defending this like it's nothing. It is nothing, she snapped. You're overreacting. It was just harmless conversation. I never met up with anyone. I never slept with anyone. So calm down. I stepped closer, my voice steady but low. So what, if you don't cross a physical line, it's fine? You can text these guys like they're your secret boyfriends as long as no one touches. Her expression hardened. You're twisting this into something it's not. I didn't cheat. Alex, you're paranoid. Paranoid, I said, my hands shaking. I have proof. I've read every word you wrote. You told Evan you wished you could spend a night with him. You told Tom he was the only person who really got you. How am I supposed to read that? She hesitated, just a second, then shrugged. People say things online. It doesn't mean anything. That hit harder than anything else she could have said. I stared at her, searching for even a flicker of regret. There was none, just cold defiance. You're unbelievable, I said finally. No, she fired back. You're controlling. You've been keeping tabs on me for weeks, watching every little thing I do, waiting for some excuse to explode. Do you even hear yourself? I rubbed my hands over my face. I wanted to believe we were okay. I wanted to fix this before it got worse. But you can't even admit you did something wrong. Because I didn't, she shouted. I haven't done anything wrong. You're just… She threw her hands up, jealous. You can't stand the idea that I have my own life outside of you. I felt the words hit like a slap. Outside of me? I said quietly. You mean without me? She turned away, grabbed her mug again and said, I'm done having this conversation. I stood there in silence while she walked off, her bare feet slapping against the tile. Every part of me wanted to chase her, to keep talking, to force her to see what she'd done. But instead, I just leaned against the counter, listening to the sound of her door closing. The house went quiet again, same as before. Only this time, the silence didn't feel heavy. It felt empty. For the next 3 days, we barely said a word to each other. We moved around the apartment like strangers. She stayed locked in the bedroom with her laptop. I stuck to the living room, TV on but volume low. We'd cross paths in the kitchen and act like the other wasn't even there. But I couldn't keep going like that. I wasn't gonna live in the same house with someone who'd rather connect with 2 random guys online than fix the mess between us. That Thursday night, I finally cracked. She was finishing a salad at the dining table, still in her work clothes, phone face down next to her fork. I walked over, pulled out the chair across from her and sat down. We need to talk, I said. She didn't look up. I'm eating. I don't care. This can't wait. That got her attention. She put her fork down and leaned back, arms crossed. Fine. Talk. I stared right at her. I want to fix this. I'm not interested in dragging this marriage through the dirt, but I'm not going to sit here while you keep disrespecting it either. She raised an eyebrow, mouth twitching like she was trying not to laugh. Disrespecting? Wow, that's rich. I'm serious, Rachel. I'm giving this one last shot. But I need you to do your part. She leaned forward. What does that mean exactly? It means if we're going to rebuild trust, you need to cut those guys off. Evan, Tom, all of them. No more late-night conversations. No more secret messages. No more pretending they're just friends. She blinked slowly, like she couldn't believe I just said that. Then she shook her head. I'm not doing that. I clenched my jaw. Why? Because I'm not throwing away friendships to soothe your jealousy. That's not how this works. It's not jealousy, I snapped. It's about boundaries, respect. You crossed a line and now you're acting like I'm crazy for trying to fix it. You are crazy, she said, standing up. You want to control who I talk to, what I say, how I connect with people. I stood too. No, I want my wife to act like she's married. I want to believe the person I sleep next to every night gives a damn about how her actions affect me. She walked to the kitchen counter, opened a drawer, and pulled out a manila envelope. Then she turned around, walked right up to me, and dropped it on the table between us. Here, she said, calm now, almost smug. If you're that unhappy, go ahead and sign these. I looked down. Divorce papers, already filled out. You had these ready? I asked. She gave a tight smile. I figured it was coming eventually. Now's as good a time as any. My hands curled into fists at my sides. So that's it? I try to fix it, and your response is a threat. It's not a threat, she said. It's a choice. You either trust me and back off or you let this go. But I'm not cutting people out of my life just because you have trust issues. I laughed under my breath, disbelief boiling over. You don't get it at all. No, she said, picking up her phone. You don't. I stood there for a second, staring at her like I didn't even recognize the person in front of me. I'm not signing anything tonight, I said. But if this is the hill you want to die on, you might just get your wish. She didn't flinch, just turned around, walked back to the bedroom, and shut the door like nothing happened. I stood at the kitchen table long after she closed the bedroom door, staring down at that envelope like it was some kind of trap. Divorce papers, signed and printed, just sitting there like she'd been waiting for me to finally stop fighting. And the thing is, something inside me did stop. Not out of defeat, out of clarity. If this was where we'd landed, her picking other men over our marriage and throwing ultimatums in my face like poker chips, then there wasn't anything left to salvage. I sat down, opened the envelope, and pulled out the papers. I read every line. It was all there. Asset split, apartment lease, no kids to fight over. Just a clean break. I grabbed a pen from the drawer, hands steady, signed my name like it was just another form at the DMV. It didn't feel dramatic. Felt honest, like telling the truth after months of lying to myself. A couple minutes later, I knocked on the bedroom door. No answer. I opened it anyway. She was sitting on the bed with her laptop again, pretending to be focused. I walked over, held out the papers, and said, "Here." She looked up, confused. "What?" "You wanted me to sign." I signed. She blinked like she didn't understand. "Wait. Seriously?" "Yeah," I said. "Seriously." Her whole face shifted. The smugness vanished, replaced by something halfway between panic and guilt. "Hold on," she said, setting her laptop aside. "I didn't think you'd actually do it. I was trying to show you how serious I was. That doesn't mean I want a divorce." I didn't even flinch. "You had the paperwork ready. Seems like you wanted it more than I did." She stood up fast. "Alex, come on. This isn't what I meant." I shook my head. "You made your choice, Rachel. You told me I could either deal with you entertaining 2 other men or leave. So I'm leaving." Her voice cracked a little. "It wasn't like that. I was angry. You blindsided me. I just wanted space." "No," I cut in. "You wanted freedom without consequences. You wanted the attention from other men without the accountability of being married. That's what you wanted." "I didn't cheat," she said again, voice lower now. "You keep acting like I betrayed you." I stepped back. "You did. You just didn't have the guts to own it." She reached out like she was going to grab my hand, but I moved before she could. "You don't have to do this," she said. "We can go to therapy or take a break or something. Don't just walk away." I let out a breath. "You walked away a long time ago. I just didn't want to admit it." "I made a mistake," she said. "Okay? I let things get too far. But that doesn't mean it's over." "It does to me." She sat back down like the strength drained right out of her. "You don't even want to try?" I stared at her for a long moment. "You wanted me to sign." I signed. "And the second I did, you started backpedaling. That's not love. That's control." "I was scared," she whispered. "I didn't want to lose you. I just didn't know how to talk to you anymore." I picked up my keys. "Yeah, well, it's a little late for that." She stood up again one last time. "Please, just think about it." We've been through worse. No, I said. We haven't. And then I walked out. No yelling. No slamming doors. Just me and my keys and the truth sitting heavy in my chest. I left that night with nothing but a duffel bag, my toolbox, and my pillow stuffed under my arm. Slept on my buddy Nate's couch for 2 weeks until I found a short-term lease on a one-bedroom over in Leon Valley. Nothing fancy. Creaky floors, cheap blinds, smelled like leftover paint, but it was mine. Walking out of that apartment didn't hit me right away. It wasn't until I stood in the middle of my new place, staring at my own silence, that it landed. No TV humming in the background. No Rachel scrolling on the couch. No tension boiling in the corners. Just peace. A quiet kind of pain. But peace all the same. I called a divorce attorney the next day. Local guy, mid-50s, firm handshake, didn't sugarcoat anything. I brought him the papers Rachel had drawn up, told him I'd already signed, and just wanted it done. He nodded, looked everything over and said, "You're doing the right thing if you're already this far gone." I didn't argue. The process started slow. Filing, waiting, the back and forth through lawyers. Rachel didn't contest anything at first. No kids, no shared assets except a few appliances and the lease. I thought it would stay clean. But then the calls started. First week it was just one. A missed call at 11:30 at night. No voicemail. Then a few texts. "I can't sleep. Are you okay? Please don't hate me. Can we talk? Just talk." I ignored all of them. Not to be cruel, just because I didn't trust myself to stay firm if I responded. The next week, it doubled. She started calling after work, sometimes twice in a row. Left long voicemails about how she didn't mean to push me away, how she'd been scared, how she still believed we could come back from it. I deleted every one. I kept my focus on work, took extra shifts at the shop, cleaned carbs, changed brakes, rebuilt a transmission solo just to keep my hands moving and my head clear. Nate dragged me out for beers a few times. He didn't ask for details, just sat with me, cracked jokes, and made space. Guys like that don't talk much, but they show up. That was enough. Rachel's lawyer sent over a revision to the divorce agreement. Suddenly she wanted to discuss emotional distress. My guy shot it down fast, said she didn't have a case. That's when the tone of her texts changed. "I can't believe you're this cold. After everything I gave you, you're just done? This isn't you. You're better than this." I blocked her number. She emailed me instead. I read the first one, skipped the rest. She tried mutual friends after that. Messaged Nate, even reached out to my sister, like maybe someone could pull me back to her side. But they'd seen enough. No one bit. In the middle of all that noise, I found a weird kind of rhythm. I'd get up early, make my own breakfast, go to work, come home to an empty apartment, and not feel tense for once. No wondering if she was hiding something. No side glances at her phone. Just me. One Saturday, I dusted off my old bass guitar from the closet. Hadn't played in years. I sat on the edge of the bed and fumbled through some old riffs from high school. Felt rusty but real. Another night, I texted an old buddy I hadn't seen since our wedding. We met up for wings and ended up talking until the bar closed. He didn't bring up Rachel once. Just asked how I was actually doing. I didn't lie. I told him it sucked. But I also told him I was done begging someone to love me back. The court date finally came through 6 weeks later. No fanfare. No final showdown. Just a 20-minute Zoom hearing with a judge and a screen full of muted boxes. Rachel looked like she hadn't slept. I didn't say a word. At the end, the judge clicked something, said dissolution granted. And that was it. Over. She sent one last email that night. Just said, "I'm sorry for everything. I wish it didn't end like this." I didn't respond. Not out of spite. Just because I'd already said everything I needed to. After that final email, everything went quiet. No more calls. No more messages. No more tug of war. I came home from work a couple days later, tossed my keys on the counter, sat down on the couch, and just sat there. Not thinking. Not waiting. Not checking my phone. Just being. And for the first time in a long damn time, I felt still. The truth is, the divorce didn't break me. What broke me was hanging on to something that stopped being real, pretending she still cared, pretending I didn't see what was happening right in front of me. She didn't ruin me, she freed me, because once the lies were out in the open, once I stopped making excuses for her choices, I could finally see things clearly. It wasn't love anymore, it was survival. I spent too long walking on eggshells, hoping she'd come back to who she used to be. But people don't just snap back. When someone chooses distance over connection, secrets over honesty, attention from strangers over the person who shares their damn bed, that's a decision. And I made mine. I walked away. I didn't want revenge. I didn't need her to beg. I just needed out. I stopped apologizing for expecting loyalty. I stopped explaining why respect wasn't optional. That's the thing they don't tell you about heartbreak. Sometimes it saves your life. I learned to set boundaries and keep them, to recognize the difference between a rough patch and a dead end. I don't regret marrying her. I regret staying quiet when I should have spoken up sooner. I regret trying to fix what she didn't even want to hold on to. But I don't regret leaving. Not for a second. It hurt, yeah, but it didn't kill me. It reminded me who I am. And now, I've got a place that's mine. A circle of people who actually show up. A future I'm not afraid of anymore. Freedom doesn't always feel like fireworks. Sometimes it feels like silence that finally makes sense. What would you have done if you were in Alex's shoes when Rachel dropped those divorce papers? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more real stories like this one.